Yeah, you're right, but there's also another factor, too, and it deals with the unions in general. I mean, the teachers, once you make your tenure, what's the incentive for you to be a good teacher or a good administrative LA Unified School District management?
When we went to Walter Reed Junior High and North Hollywood High, there are plenty of teachers that were just coasting, sitting on their laurels, doing nothing.
I had a biology teacher. What was his name? And age. He would actually, this is how he would perform his class. He'd put in a cassette tape of a lecture and then go into his office.
Yeah.
Then maybe like one day out of the week, he'd actually be in the classroom. But 4 days out of the week, it was a cassette tape.
We all had those teachers that were just latchkey teachers that just sort of warehoused you and didn't do anything. I had teachers that were 75, 80 years old. Mr. Spaeth. I mean, that guy was 80 years old.
He was a good teacher, though.
He was a good teacher, except for we were never in the class. We were down in the bathroom pissing on each other. we just get up and leave because he was too old to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Mr. Spaeth, Mrs. Commissar, Todd Helt, she was like 85 years old. I mean, we had a bunch of Dumbo old... Look, there've always... Do you think the nature of teaching has changed that much in the last 20 years? No.
Well,
no. Of course the unions fuck it all up, and of course there's lazy teachers, but that's not the problem.
That is not the problem.
Here's what I clearly illustrated. I did a double-blind taste test. We went to North Hollywood High. At North Hollywood High, same high school we all went to, you could have been warehoused out in the bungalows with the gangbangers and with the wheeze. Mm-hmm. You could have been sitting in ceramics class in Kennedy Hall with me, or you could be in an AP class with Jeff Buck. Mm-hmm. You chose. It was up to you and your family and how much homework you did and how much you applied yourself and how interested everyone was. We all know that if you got home and nobody said a word to you, you weren't doing any homework. I don't know that all our Jewish friends up in the hills wouldn't have done, but they learned that early because that was taught to them and that was instilled and ingrained in them. Those kids knew they were going to college by the fifth grade.
Homework might be more important than actual school.
The home environment is the most important part. When you make it okay for your kid to drop out of high school, then what's the teacher going to do? They can't go looking for you. Mm-hmm. So let's stop. I know, like I said, no one wants to say anything about the culture. No one wants to say anything about the families. No one wants to say anything. All we want to do is, these are hardworking, single parents. They have to. Well, let's focus on that. What do you mean single parents? Stop fucking out of wedlock. Stop cranking out kids out of wedlock. Stop. You can't blame the parents. They have 5 kids, and most of them are single mothers. They're living below the poverty line. Well, knock it off. Let's focus on that. That's where we need to focus. Of course that's where we need to focus. That's our only place of focus. But we don't want to talk about that. That's uncomfortable. That makes the politicians uncomfortable. You think Via Retardo or Maxine Waters wants to address the real problem? Of course not. They're cowards, hypocrites, and pussies.
Well, what about the ACLU?
And the ACLU and the rest of those people. They don't want to address that. No, why address the real problem?
What they've done, too, is they've caused Whitey to get out of the schools and send their kids to private schools. You think Whitey...
Oh, of course.
Whitey wouldn't spend that extra money if they didn't have to.
No. Listen, as I've said many times, I would love to talk to all our liberal homo buddies here in Hollywood about what their view is on immigration and about teachers' unions and about all that shit. And then at the end of the thing, I'll go, and what school's your 12-year-old going to? He's going to
Buckley or Harvard,
he's going to the Fudge Packer Academy in Brentwood. Of course. Of course. No, you think he's going into school and you think he's going to Hollywood High? They all fucking live in Hollywood. Why not just go to Hollywood High? Well, you can't go to Hollywood High because Hollywood High is 90% Hispanic. The culture doesn't put an emphasis on education, and thus they're being warehoused there. So, no, you're not going to let your little lily white kid go to Hollywood High. You're going to send him to a private school. That's out of one side of your mouth. The other side of your mouth, you want open borders. You don't agree with what the right wing has to say about the unions and borders and blah, 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 blah. So, of course, you're a hypocrite. You're the definition of a hypocrite. Because if you really believed what you're saying about, oh, these people are hardworking and they're proud and they're this and that and they love their kids, but good. Send your kid to the free school. No, you'll never send your kid to the fucking free school that's down the street from where you live. Why? Because you know your kid's not going to get the education that they would have got at the same school 40 years ago. What's changed from 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago? Teachers? No. Students have changed. The culture has changed. And you know it, and I know it, and they know it. The only difference between us is that we're willing to discuss it. And they like to point fingers and call people like me bigots for fucking pointing out the obvious. What, am I manufacturing anything here? Isn't this just, these are universal truths, are they not? I'm making this up? Of course. I was just writing this in my book yesterday. Look, Tijuana, what's the difference between Tijuana and San Diego? A stripe in the fucking desert that ends in the ocean. And now, let me just ask something of all you people that do nothing but defend the open border thing and talk about all this, that, and the other. If your kid needed dental work, if your kid needed an education, if your kid needed an emergency appendectomy, where would you send them? San Diego or Tijuana? I think we've answered that question, right? Now my next question, why? Why?
Because America is the greatest friggin' country in the world.
Thank you. Can we please try to keep it that way? That's all. Jesus Christ. It's insane to me that I feel like I'm interested in solving a problem. That's what I feel like. And I also feel, and here's the first step in solving a problem. When there's a problem, you need to focus on where that problem emanates from, not look around and point your finger in different directions. If somebody has a problem with drugs or booze, that person needs to be confronted and it needs to be addressed. You shouldn't be going around blaming the liquor stores. You should talk to the person that has the problem with the booze instead of saying, why are we selling booze at the supermarket? No, that's not the problem. The problem is the person that's drinking the booze. You're blaming the teachers right now. That's like blaming the stores. Focus on the person that has the problem and the families that have the problem.
What is the left's ultimate plan?
They don't have an ultimate plan. Their ultimate plan is this. I want to be popular with everyone, and I want to be cool when I go to parties. And so that's what I don't want anyone to ever, I don't want to ask any of the tough questions. I don't want to point any fingers. Oh, and I'd like to get reelected. So this growing number of asses, uneducated asses, that's part of my constituency, I don't want to piss them off by telling them the truth. So I'll just go ahead and pander to them, and then they'll get dumber and get shittier jobs and be worse off, but I'll keep getting elected every year because I have the same last name they have and I have the same skin tone they have. Oh, that's not racist. Hey, let's vote in Villaraigosa because he's Mexican. Really? He's an incompetent imbecile with a personality disorder who couldn't run shit. Take a look at this. Take a look at what they're doing to this state. Take a look at what they're doing to the city. They're doing a fine job? What do you give them? What kind of marks would you give them if they were at North Hollywood High?
California and Los Angeles used to be the greatest city and state in the United States of America. And
right.
We are now in the most trouble.
Of course. Again, they're doing a fantastic job.